the fight, yeah, bring on all the lightning. 'Cause I'm looking for a hero. Look inside the mirror, I find one. Oh, carry the hurt when it gets too
Hey guys,
hard.
welcome to this episode of Inspired. I am your host, Takia LaShawn, and I am joined today by a very, very special friend of mine, Natina Johnson. She is a mom, a wife, an all-around kick-ass woman warrior. I said it because that's just what I think of when I talk to you, when I look at you, this journey. How you been doing, girl?
I'm doing great.
Good. It's good.
I'm doing great.
You're doing great.
Yes.
You look great. You look beautiful. You look amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. We were
Yes.
talking before, and I said, you know, we have so much to catch up on.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen you, and man, the last time we saw each other, we were walking the
Yes.
trail.
Yes.
That was like, what, 2 years ago?
Yes. Yes.
But the great thing about good friends is we never lose
Yes.
distance. You're here on the show sharing your journey. You're going to share your journey with us today as far as this theme, healing through the hurt. And we're just going to talk about how you've overcome breast cancer, a survivor, an overcomer, a fighter. We're going to talk about your journey being a mom and a wife, and just we'll talk about a little bit about the past, some transparency and some vulnerability with some things you've endured.
Yes.
Yeah, so what do you want to tell us about today?
Well, you know, I think currently I was diagnosed a little over a year ago. I was diagnosed March 2020 with breast cancer. And so I think for me right now, there is life before breast cancer and life after. And so right now, my journey is the after.
Yeah.
Because I did my year of treatment, chemotherapy, mastectomy, reconstruction, continuing with targeted therapy. And I just completed my treatment. And so now I'm on to that next chapter of my life of survivor and just moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah. That journey. So let's talk about the diagnosis. When you
Okay.
first got that, how did that come about? Did you have any symptoms leading up
Yes.
to it
Yes.
that prompted you? Yeah.
Yes, so at the start of the holidays, you know, Christmas time, I felt something and I wasn't sure if it was something.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that as a mother, as a wife, I put myself still, not first, but last.
Yeah.
And then another month went by and I still noticed it. And then another month went by and I noticed it was growing.
Yeah.
It was bigger.
Yeah.
And so that's when I said, okay, stop messing around, go get this checked.
Yeah.
You know, because at that point of my life, I was at the healthiest that I could be.
Right.
I was doing CrossFit 5 days a week at 5 a.m. I was eating a healthy diet, tracking macros and counting my proteins, my carbs and fat. So I knew what was putting into my body. So I had this false sense of I am healthy, you know, but still my body was like raising that red flag, like something's going on.
Given that warning signal.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so I went, and first I saw my OBGYN, and then she referred me to go get a mammogram and ultrasound. And then after that, they said I needed to have a biopsy. And so I had to come back a week later, and then we did the biopsy. And then about a week later, that was when I went to go get the results. Now, so I went to my doctor's office. I had to be by myself because my husband had to watch my son. So, and the other two were at school.
Yeah.
So, so then I went, and that's when I received the news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were alone when you
Yes.
got that, which was probably pretty difficult, pretty
It
tough.
was. I
Yeah.
mean, we put on this like, okay, I can handle it. I've been through a lot in my past, and but as I was walking to the car, I just kept telling myself, just get to the car, just get to the car, stay strong till you get there. And as soon as I sat down, that's when I just released.
Yeah.
Released to it.
You said that you were getting up at 5 a.m. every day doing CrossFit. I remember. That's why I'm like, you were amazing. You're amazing because you're lifting and you're eating right and you said you're counting the macros. And you said, I had this false sense of security that I was healthy, that everything was okay. And I think many of us walk around not realizing that there are still outside factors and things that could impact our body,
Yes.
regardless of how healthy we are, or how healthy we look, or even how healthy we feel.
Yes.
And so you making that decision that, I got to stop playing around here and go take this serious, literally probably was defining the next steps in your life,
Yes.
whether you would be here or not.
Yes.
And you took those steps. You started this journey. Now you're processing everything that's to come and that's to go on. Family has to find out. I'm sure it's human nature, I believe, for our mind to immediately go, what's going to happen?
Exactly.
The what ifs. The what
Exactly.
ifs start kicking in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to learn. That's what didn't learn it at the time, but through this process, I have been able to learn to focus on the what is and not the what ifs.
That's good. The
Yeah.
what is and not the what if. That keeps you in the present state. Because
It really
is a
does.
present state word.
It is.
It's almost like if I just one day at a time.
Yes.
One day at a time, you break that down to 1 hour at a time, and you get through. So what does the journey? We're gonna take a commercial break here shortly,
Yes.
but when we come back, what does the journey of that process look like?
Okay.
Yeah. So let's give a little tease into that as far as. You've got the diagnosis, you start processing the emotions, you have
Yes.
to let family know, now what?
Now it's about getting the work done as far as getting the therapy done.
Yeah.
But what I've always gravitated for to my coping has always been through athleticism. When I was younger, I had to learn that self-coping because I had to go through molestation, my stepfather, and with that is when I first found my love of sports, because that's where I found my strength and my courage, which led me to fight him off, So now fast forward to where I was at that present time, and I didn't have that outlet of that strength to cope with, so I had to deal with it in different measures. I had to find myself and my courage through other means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coping. That's a good word. That's a good solid word to use, because that's what a lot of people fail to realize or find is their coping mechanism. We all have coping mechanisms, but sometimes we fail to not understand how to utilize those for our power, for our empowerment, to the positive and the negative. And a lot of times people fall into either positive coping mechanisms, which is what you did, athleticism, and it helps strengthen you mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically. But then people fall into negative coping mechanisms, drugs, alcohol, sex. And so we'll talk about that some more. We're going to take a commercial break, and we will be right back.
Bringing out the fight, yeah, bring on all the lightning. 'Cause
Barbells for Boobs is a nonprofit organization that provides support and education to incorporate physical activity as a foundation for breast cancer risk reduction, treatment, and survivorship. They strive to improve the quality of life and outcomes in individuals impacted by breast cancer. Engaging in consistent physical activity has been proven an effective intervention to reduce cancer risk, reduce the prevalence and severity of adverse effects during breast cancer treatment, reduce post-treatment relative risk of reoccurrence, breast cancer mortality, and all causes. You can find more information at barbellsforboobs.org.
So if you would like to donate to Barbells for Boobs, you can go to my Instagram page, Natina, Natina 06, and follow the link, and it'll take you right to my fundraising page. Thank you.
Bringing out the fight, yeah, bring on all the lightning, 'cause
And we're back on this episode of Inspire. I'm joined with Natina Johnson, good friend of mine, mother, survivor, overcomer. And right before the break, we were talking about your childhood. We were talking about coping mechanisms. Before the show, we were talking about transparency and vulnerability and how things that we go through can impact us years down the line in our adult life and affect us. And I want to delve a little deeper into that and share more of that with us.
I, never really deeply thought about that, because I've never ever really have talked about the molestation, never, and that's just because it's shameful, but what I learned is that I cannot move forward with my life if I don't deal with my shame. And when I received my breast cancer diagnosis, I automatically thought of my children. And, you kind of reflect on the relationship that you have with your children, the relationships you have with my husband. And I wanted to make sure that the time that I have with them is real and true and joyful and honest. And I knew that if I didn't deal with the shame, I couldn't be 100% with them,
Yeah.
And it's not that our relationships at the time weren't good,
Right.
Because they were solid.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah.
My children showed me love that I've never seen before. The kindness and the pure of when I'm bald head, just finished throwing up, getting sick. I've never been sick before. And my youngest will come into the bed and say, "Mommy, you look beautiful." That's just pure love. And so I had to reflect upon myself, and am I giving that same pure love? And I knew that I couldn't do it if I didn't take care of that shame and be vulnerable to that. Yeah.
So, it's very interesting as you're speaking about the shame of it, because I too have gone through the molestation. I've shared my story, and same stepfather. And it's interesting that we as the victims deal with the shame of what our abusers did, because really we weren't wrong. We weren't in the wrong. But we carry that shame because we've been violated. But learning to deal with it, to face it, it turns that it's a pivotal point that it turns and takes that shame off of you. It puts you in a place of power and control, because there's nothing, and I say this for the viewers watching that are going through what you've gone through, what I've gone through, that are feeling as if, it's a place of shame and it's a place of hopelessness, that it's nothing that they've done. It's nothing that's their fault.
Yes.
It's really not even a place of their shame. It's the abuser. And for them to really search deep within themselves to find what you have, to find what I have, to take that power back, to take that control back, to give voice to their story, maybe not on a platform like this, but even if it's just admitting to themselves that I'm worthy, I'm valuable, I'm enough, I did nothing wrong, and to strengthen the relationships that are in their lives that come to them and pick and choose like you've done in your marriage and with your boys.
Yes, because as a child, I developed a self-talk in my head of nobody likes me, everybody hates me. That was in my mind constantly, even up until, you know, my diagnosis.
Yeah.
And it was false.
It's false.
And I turned to mindful meditation. I turned to learning new mantras. And my new mantra is, I am worthy of love.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Everybody is.
Everybody is.
And everybody is worthy of my love as well. And so that is something that I knew that I needed to move on to. And, you know, and also too, it's like, this is a good skill to learn. It's a skill I had to learn.
It truly is.
Okay, because there's going to be another time. It might not be breast cancer. It might come back. It might be, you know. I'm in remission now, but it might be. Or it could be something greater or something less. But I need to know that suffering is going to happen again, and I will be able to get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is so powerful, your mantra to say, I am worthy of love. Some people might look at that and go, you don't have to say that. We know, but you really need to hear it for yourself.
And see it, because
And to
I
see
put it, I printed it out, I put it on my mirror,
Yeah.
I even put it on the back of my cell phone,
Yeah.
I put it on the fridge.
I think that was a
Yeah.
huge proponent in you getting through what you did with breast cancer, being able to receive your boys coming in. You know, like you said, you having to go through chemo and you lose your hair and shave your hair and, you know, over the toilet, vomiting and feeling at your worst. But to receive your baby coming in and going, Mommy, you're beautiful. That's receiving love.
Yes.
You know, you could have in your head go, no, I'm not, I'm this, I'm that. Look at me. But you knew, I am worthy of being loved, and my baby wants to show me this love.
Yes.
I wholeheartedly believe that we receive whatever we need, our healing, our health, our well-being, psychologically, before we do physically. I believe that. I think that is a big component in getting us where we need to. And you, again, just reaching that place. I believe that's why you're sitting here today, looking gorgeous as ever, glowing, shining. Let's talk about, so this journey with the breast cancer, you're in remission, you know, you posted social media, we watched the journey. You know, I would think about you often. It'd be like 2 o'clock in the morning and I'd text you.
Yes, and I appreciate that. That got me through it.
Good.
Those moments,
you know, it's important to be surrounded by people. You know, we can't often be there physically, but just to know that you have people thinking about you. So you CrossFit, you are just doing amazing with that journey. You've had a lot of support during this journey from organizations and agencies. You want to talk about that?
Yes, 100%. Well, through in the CrossFit community, there's an organization called Barbells for Boobs, right? Who doesn't love an organization with the boobs in the title? And so what they do is they provide resources for women who have been impacted with breast cancer. And they do not just workouts, right? They have workouts available on Facebook, and it's all programmed for you, and they do a live show every day, which is twice a day. You can go on and follow a workout. They also provide mindfulness, support groups. So every Sunday we have Zoom meetings with other survivors and thrivers, because there's women there too who are in their current battle. They're still with their treatments, and we get together, and right now we are currently just focusing on emotional and spiritual growth. And so, and it's all free. I've never paid for anything. And for me, you know, I've seen plenty of organizations for breast cancer. We've all seen the pink everywhere, you know. And but for me, I've had a direct impact with them. And I get phone calls, I get text messages and emails, weekly, daily sometimes, of encouragement and support. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to fundraise for them. I wanted to give back. And I just on a whim, it was my anniversary of my diagnosis was coming up, and so I wanted to have a goal of doing a 5K. That was just something for me that I was like, okay, I want to see if I can do this, push myself. So I posted on Facebook that I was doing this, and then I wanted to raise money. So, and then through that, my gym, CrossFit Humidity, they were like, hey, do you want some people to join you? And I said, yes. So we it just kind of was put on just a little, you know, 5K, and it wasn't official. There was an official timer, but everybody came out, and we raised funds for them. It was so great.
Your CrossFit family has been amazing. You've been surrounded by just a community, and I believe what you put out is what you get back in. It speaks mounds to who you are, and I just think that's amazing. What I think Barbells for Boobs sounds amazing. The support that it's given, the interaction that's there, the resources that they offer sounds priceless. For any woman that is watching right now that may be starting this leg of the journey, that may be in the midst of it, or even, I love what you said, there's survivors and there's thrivers. And even the family members that are watching, because the family members, we often don't know. Caretakers. What you're really enduring. What is your takeaway to give, to offer, to say from both spectrums of what you've experienced?
I guess it would just really have to be find joy in the everyday moments. Find joy in the everyday moments, because, you know, there's no getting out of this, right? We're all going to die someday.
At some point.
We're all going to die someday. So, you know, let's not focus on the dying. Let's focus on the living.
The living.
Yes. So, and the suffering is going to happen, but just find the little joys, even if it's the sun coming in when you're waking up in the morning, or the kiss of your child. Just find that joy.
Find that joy. I love it. Natina, thank you so much for joining me. It's been great catching up with you. And find that joy. Focus on the living and not the dying. Until next time, we'll see you again. Want more inspiration and encouragement? Join me next week, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Live, and hear more extraordinary women sharing their extraordinary stories, and be inspired with Takia LaShawn. This episode of Inspired with Takia LaShawn has been sponsored by The Brow Company, Beauty Bar, Makeup Studio, and Lash Spa, a Takia LaShawn salon. The Brow Company specializes in exceptional lash, brow, and makeup artistry, natural nail care, full body and Brazilian waxing, laser liposuction, teeth whitening, hair shampoo and blow dry styling, and more. The Brow Company has 2 locations in Bluffton, South Carolina, and on Ladies Island, and are open by appointment Monday through Saturday. Find out more and book your appointment today. Have a business, idea, nonprofit, organization, or event you'd like to talk about? Contact me today to find out more about my sponsor and affiliate partner program segments here on Inspired with Takia LaShawn.
I ended up having to have an emergency C-section. And at the time, the doctor, he said, "Oh, now I see. You have fibroid tumors."
Wow.
And so he said, and they were trying to compete. They wanted to live and push your baby out. So that's why you kept going in and out of the hospital. So, wow. Then I began to try to do as much research about how I could naturally heal my body so that I would not have to go through this anymore.